Hello, in this lecture we're going to continue on chapter 25 and we're going to continue with managerial decision scenarios. So we're going to keep in mind our themes, which are that we're going to compare the relevant costs of any types of decisions, and we're going to include the costs that are relevant, including opportunity costs, and we're removing costs that are not relevant, including sunk costs. And these same principles are going through any of these types of decisions that we're making, as well as any large decision that we would make in business or personal. Good to take these into consideration, and we will apply this to a couple more scenarios. So now we're going to think about a sales mix selection. So example, Fast Track makes and sells two products, A and B, using the same machines. A and B have the following selling price and variable costs per unit. So in this example, the idea being that we could make product A, of course, or product B, and we have limited space, limited capacity to make products A and B. So the question is, how much of A and how much of B? What should the production capacity be between A and B if we have this limited use? Okay, so if we look at this, however, it takes 1 hour to produce 1 unit of product A, well, it takes 2 hours to produce unit of product B. So that's one thing that we're going to have to consider if we have limited capacity in terms of production. So if there's a time constraint, the time constraint here being the machine hours, then we may need to consider the cost per machine hour in this type of fashion. So if we take the selling price per unit, we have the $5 and the $7 for A and B respectively, and they had the variable costs being $3.50 and $5.50 respectively. Therefore, the contribution margin, which of course is the sales price minus the variable cost per unit, in this case is $1.50 for A and $2 for B. Therefore, if we do not have a bottleneck situation, then B has a higher production margin, and if we can have unlimited sales and unlimited production, then B would be the way we would want to go in that case. But we can see that there's a bottleneck in this case. If we do have a bottleneck, and in this case that bottleneck being machine hours, and that is restricting us, then we may want to consider that contribution margin per machine hour. So in order to do that type of calculation, we try to think, okay, how many machine hours does it take to make 1 unit of A versus 1 unit of B? In this example, it takes an hour to make a unit of A, it takes 2 hours to make a unit of B. Therefore, if we divide out the contribution margin divided by the hours, in comparison to the hours, the contribution margin per machine hour for A then is $1.50. The contribution margin per machine hour for B is $1. So in this case, we're saying that the contribution margin for A in terms of machine hours, in terms of the bottleneck, would actually be better than B. So in a situation such as this, where we have this bottleneck situation, it could be useful for us to take into the relevant information, meaning how much does it cost per bottleneck activity, in this case being machine hours. So decision, even though product A's unit contribution is less, it has a higher contribution margin per machine hour. Fast should produce more of product A in this case. So segment elimination. Another type of scenario that we could have, we're going to apply the same similar principles to this type of decision, making the decisions that are relevant on the margin. So a segment is a candidate for elimination if its revenues are less than its avoidable costs. So in this case, we have different divisions. We're going to say that one division, if we look at the allocations that we have, has a loss, and therefore the question is, well, should we continue this division or should we eliminate it because it's not pulling its weight, it's not making money? Avoidable expenses are amounts the company would not incur if they eliminate the segment. So when we think about the costs applied to a segment, remember that we often apply costs to the segment that are both avoidable, and some of the costs that we apply are not avoidable because we are trying to think about the cost allocation as a whole. There's relevance to that type of allocation, but there's a problem when we start to look at it in terms of should we discontinue a segment if we're applying things that are not going to be avoided in the decision. So we need to do some other thinking about it, and that's what we'll take a look at here. So Fast Track considering eliminating its treadmill division because it reported a $500 operating loss. So remember that operating loss is what we allocated to the division. So we have the cost, the revenue minus the expenses. How do we come up with those expenses? Some of them are avoidable, but some of them we may still incur even if we eliminate the division. That's what we need to look at. So the first indication that a division is in trouble is, of course, that their operating losses are at a negative. They're not making money. Then we need to consider further. And in this case, this would be the further consideration. So if we take a look at this division, this is all the one division that we are considering taking out. They have this 500 operating loss here. Then we can see what that consists of, and we're going to break that into our two columns. Is it avoidable in terms of costs, and is it an unavoidable cost? The cost of goods sold is all avoidable, so if we eliminated the division, then we get rid of the cost of the goods that we sell in that division. Wages, we're saying, are avoidable, so if we got rid of the division, we would no longer have to pay those employees, obviously. Depreciation, however, on the equipment, we're saying is not avoidable, meaning the depreciation being used is still gonna be allocated because it's there whether we take the company out or this division out or not. So, and then we're going to say the indirect expenses, rent and utilities. In this case, we're saying that those are unavoidable, meaning the rent on the building is the rent on this part of the building and other parts of the building. Therefore, even if we remove the division, we're still going to have to pay the rent and the utilities on the building, even though we allocated this amount to this division. That's just an allocation. It's a fixed cost, and we allocated it. If we remove the division, we still have to pay it. Advertising, we're saying it can be avoidable. Insurance, we're saying 300 of it would be avoidable for this division, but 100 of it is an amount that we allocated to the division, and therefore we'd still have to pay it even if we got rid of the division. Share of office department expenses, again, 2,200 we're saying would be avoidable, but we're saying that 8,060 were allocated to this division, and if we remove the division, we'd still have to pay it. We would just have to adjust the allocations between the remaining divisions. And then the share of office department expenses, again, 1,000 avoidable, but 2,190 we're saying still going to be incurred. We're just going to have to reallocate it to the remaining divisions. So even though we have this 500 loss, we really have, in terms of avoidable expenses, 41.8. Unavoidable expenses will be 6.5. So now taking this information, we can do a calculation here and say, well, if the sales are 47.8 and we take out just the avoidable expenses, again, the sales are up here, and we take out just the avoidable expenses and not the unavoidable, then we have a 6,000 that are still being contributed, revenue over the avoidable expenses. So we should not, in that case, eliminate the division because they are clearing the amount that would be avoidable if they were eliminated. So they are on the positive side in that calculation. Therefore, the company as a whole is better off to keep the division, even though when we look at the operating income that we allocate through, we have a negative 500.